Hey there, ghouls, gals, creeps, and mutants. The Undead Matt here. So, recently you might be aware of the fact that we have been changing things around for the podcast. And one of those things has been to actually find a new place so we can actually distribute our content out so that way it can stop taking away from our budget. Yeah, that is literally one of the reasons. And I'm being completely honest with you about it because when we started the show, we had to get used to the fact that a good chunk of our budget how to go to a media host so our content could be distributed to iTunes and Spotify and Google Play and all the other major and not so major platforms that stream podcasts. So when I heard the fact that anchors can do it and will do it for free, I was immediately skeptical, thinking that this is too good to be true type of thing. Well, thankfully, I am more happy to be wrong than I am right in a lot more instances. And this is one instances where I'm glad I am wrong. Not only does Anchor not charge you to distribute your content, but they actually pay you to actually put out your content. That's right. They will actually pay you and do not require you to have a certain amount of listeners in order to do that. Which it kind of blew my mind because again, when we started, we understood the fact that you needed a minimum amount of listenership in order to get sponsors, in order to get paid from your media host. But thankfully, Anchor does not work like that. They built this site with the eager podcaster in mind for the eager podcaster. And what's so fantastic about it is not only will they just pay you to, do what you want to do and talk about what you want to talk about and do the things that you love, but it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. That's right. They do the work for you. They distribute your podcast everywhere. That with the fact that they have creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your computer or your phone makes this an absolute must for any podcaster starting out or who has been in the business for a while now. It has everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And here's the thing now, if you want to be part of it, again, this is all free. So make sure you go and download the free Anchor app right now and go to anchor.fm to get started. It takes less than 5 minutes to switch over your content. I mean, we have almost 150 episodes in total, also, considering all of our bonus content. And when we switched everything over, it maybe took 3 to 5 minutes for everything to fully switch over. And there was no issue at all. They're very, 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 very effective with bringing your content over to the new Anchor site and making the transition as smooth as possible. Anchor, again, is absolutely free to use, and we are glad that we made the switch. And again, ghouls, gals, creeps, and mutants, please check them out. Download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. With that being said, let's jump into some horror. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back, everyone, to the Punk Rock Horror Podcast and to our new segment where we bring on authors to interview. I'm Matt.
And I'm Cody.
And today we are joined by the amazing, the mysterious, and the fantastic Todds Sullivan. Welcome, Todd.
Hey, how you doing, Matt and Cody?
Great. So to provide a little context, a few episodes back, we brought on Jacob Floyd from Nightmare Press, and that's how we got connected with you, Todd. Todd, you're kind of a hidden gem in horror when it comes to writing books. In some ways, it feels like the melding of two worlds colliding right now, having you on today. So again, thank you for coming on. You're calling from Taipei right now, which is really early your time at the time of this recording. So again, thank you so much for coming on and hanging out with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. That's awesome. Like all the way out in Taipei. This is cool.
What is it like over there in Taipei right now?
Today is actually kind of hot and humid. Like for the last several days, it's been raining a lot. But yeah, it's pretty cool here. I've been here for 1 year now. Actually, I came here October 2019. And the time has gone really, really fast. But it's been a fantastic experience.
Where are you originally from, if we can ask?
Yeah, that's cool. I'm originally from New Orleans, Louisiana.
Oh, cool. Another one. Okay. So believe it or not, we've actually had a good amount of people from New Orleans come on this show before. So this is just, it's kind of funny that we have another one now. I think you might be the first author, though, from New Orleans that we've had on. I'll have to double check, but I think you are.
Cool.
Don't get too excited now, okay? I mean, where do we jump in? We could jump into your influence being from where you come from in New Orleans, but I think what would be the best way to do it is just make it general. In this case, you're a horror author, and again, you're a real hidden gem. So I'll ask the question: what got you into writing horror, and what led you down this road? When was that moment you knew you wanted to be an author that writes horror?
Well, when I was younger, like I was born in like 78, and when I was growing up, there weren't really that many channels on TV back then. But on Saturday, they used to play the horror creature feature or something like that. And so that's basically what my family would watch. And at a very young age, that's what I was kind of watching. Plus, New Orleans has kind of like a dark history to it. There's like voodoo, there's above ground cemeteries. When I was in high school, I got into Anne Rice, her Vampire Chronicles or something like that, with the vampire Lestat and Interview with the Vampire. My oldest sister was really into Stephen King. She used to watch a lot of horror movies, actually. And since she was older, she had control of the remote. And so, yeah, we ended up watching a lot of horror. There were always horror books on my bookshelf. And just the nature of New Orleans, I think, just kind of influenced the way I kind of ended up writing fiction. So I guess that would probably be mostly my influence in horror.
So cool. The question I'm going to ask you is definitely going to sound like a very touristy type of question, so bear with me. But being from Colorado, we're surrounded by mountains and we're well aware of the urban legends and mythos we have around here. But what I wanted to ask you is that there's kind of this perception of New Orleans having an added, mysticism. There's some sort of unnatural happenings that seem to center around New Orleans. Do you actually agree with those types of perceptions of New Orleans? And have you experienced anything like that? Again, I'm aware this is like a very touristy type of question, so I do apologize. In no way do I mean to pander, but I do have a general interest in this.
I mean, I think part of it are like I mentioned, the above ground graves. Like you're constantly surrounded by death. You don't really forget about death in New Orleans because we're below sea level. And so, if you dig 6 feet, you hit water in New Orleans. So we have to put the graves above ground. Mm-hmm. And so I think that reminds people of not only death, but kind of the spirit and spiritualism, which can be frightening. Actually, I think that's part of what it is. There's also a lot of kind of old superstitions running throughout New Orleans. Like in my grandfather's house, they used to keep wreaths of garlic on the window to keep out evil spirits and things like that. But as I've traveled, many places have their own type of cultures or customs that similar to that to keep away evil spirits. It's actually really common here in Asia. So, but that's also a part of New Orleans. And then there's like Mardi Gras and things like that, which just kind of bring in this idea of mystery, hiding who you are, bringing out a new you. So I think all these things together about New Orleans create this idea of like mysticism. Plus also in like news and not news and movies and TV. Usually when you see something about New Orleans, you see something like True Blood took place in Louisiana. Angel Heart, a very old movie, took place in New Orleans. Mm-hmm. And so that kind of creates that image that New Orleans has like a kind of a dark spiritualism, mysticism, things like that going on about it.
Okay, so we can mostly blame Hollywood.
Well, yeah. There's a lot of things, but from
darn flicks.
Everyone else, because that's what they see in the movies. Like, cause one thing I get a lot coming when I tell people I'm from New Orleans is that people ask me, do I speak French or do I speak Creole? And to be honest, it wasn't until I left New Orleans at 18 years old that I actually met someone who spoke Creole, and that was in Atlanta. So it's not common at all. But yeah, Hollywood and TV gives people a depiction of a certain area that's probably not true most of the time.
Yeah, I do want to move on and ask you about the books that were sent us, but I just want to ask one more question. What do you think is the biggest misconception of New Orleans?
The biggest misconception of New Orleans, that's probably a party city, like a 24-hour party city, because there's like Bourbon Street in the French Quarters, which is only one small part of New Orleans. In that area, Canal Street, Bourbon Street, French Quarters, there is a lot of partying and bars, and it's probably 24 hours actually. But that's only a couple of blocks. I mean, New Orleans is a very big spread out city. So people who think that it's mostly partying, again, it's only a few blocks.
So beside for like a few small places, New Orleans is pretty normal and what you would expect.
It's basically just pretty normal. Just schools, high schools, elementary schools, junior high schools, neighborhoods, just people going about their day.
Oh, geez, Hollywood, get on it. We need to see this part of New Orleans. Not everywhere's a party.
Yeah, it's always a party or a swamp.
There are a lot of swamps. So there are a lot of swamps.
Okay.
That is true. That's not a big concession. So speaking of garlic, I thought it was very appropriate. Jacob actually sent us a few of your novellas, and it's from the vampire series of extreme horror, which it's how it is known. But he sent us Butchers and the Gray Man of Smoke and Shadows, which is the follow-up to Butchers. We've already started kind of reading them, and we have a few of our interns as well reading them as well, and they've kind of been passed around, and we've really been enjoying this. And it's just like, this is where I'm talking about where it seems like you're kind of like a hidden gem. You have these two books that have been out and have been out for a while now, and you deserve more attention. And I wanted to ask you if you want to elaborate and kind of expand a bit more on what these books are and what went into them.
Well, Butchers and the Gray Man Smoking Shows came out of like a novel that I was trying to get published like maybe 6 years ago. And the novel was called Natural Police. This is all took place when I was living in Korea, because I lived in Korea for 10 years, which is why these stories take place in Korea. And the novel was accepted for publication, but that publisher held on to it for a year and a half, and then they went out of business suddenly. And after that, I was trying to sell Natural Police to other publishers, but no one was picking it up. So I got an idea, because people enjoyed it, but they just weren't picking up their entire thing, like the entire novel. So I got the idea to take out pieces of Natural Police, the ones that people most mention, and then write a novella around that. And that's where Butchers came from. So Butchers came from pieces of Natural Police. But then the Gray Man Smoking Shadows is really completely different. There's no pieces of Natural Police in the Gray Man Smoking Shadows. That just came from, people seem to really enjoy the character Harry, which is the more free-spirited character in Butchers. And so I figured I would write a novella focusing more on her. And that's where the second one came from, just trying to give people more of what they seem to enjoy the most in Butchers.
Cool.
So you basically, you heard what people were responding to. They really loved what you liked, but they really, really love this one character. And you're like, you know what? Okay, yeah, let's follow it up, focusing more on her. Vampires in horror are obviously a staple. Everyone knows, if you think vampire, you think horror, and vice versa. Was it a challenge writing another two novellas about vampires for you? And if so, and if not, what was it like?
It wasn't a challenge. No, I started writing vampire narratives when I was like in elementary school. I really just enjoyed the vampire narratives. I mean, there's a lot of ultra vampire fans out there, so it starts pretty young. And if you really want to go back, I guess everything kind of began from that first thing I started writing in like elementary school, and just changed a lot as I kind of grew older and learned different things and moved around, first the United States and then moved throughout the world. And so, no, it was always like vampire stories really just come quite easily to me. The challenge really was not writing a vampire story. I had to really think of other things that interest me, because you don't want to just stick to the exact same subject. So that's the real challenge. But writing a vampire story is not really a challenge for me, no.
Cool. And just to backtrack a little bit, I was just wondering, because Eerie is your most popular character right now, hence why you wrote a second book about her. What was your inspiration behind her, like creating her character and everything? Because I used to write a lot, and that was kind of like my hardest thing, was like creating my own characters, like, and to stand out and everything, you know?
That's actually an interesting question. Like, the inspiration was one of the students that I met when I was teaching at a elementary school on an island called Jeju, which is in South Korea. It's a small island at the southernmost tip of South Korea. And the student, this girl, was kind of a trouble kid. Let's put it that way. She's kind of trouble. Mm-hmm. And then one day I learned a little bit about her history, and that's basically the mode of Harry. On this one particular student, because it's kind of fit a lot of what Harry has gone through and just the kind of personality she has. So that was my inspiration. This young female student that I met when I was teaching elementary school in Jeju.
Cool. Oh, that's cool. I like when you have an actual person to be an inspiration for your book. Like, I feel like that means like she had such an influence on you that you wanted to carry her influence on, in your writing.
Well, she was really disruptive in class. That's the influence she had. She was really, really, really disruptive in class to a point that was just like Harry, actually. So yeah, I mean, she did have an influence on me. That's true.
Yeah.
So, I like that. Just she kind of had it coming. No. Okay, so I think it's just really cool hearing all this influence coming from not just where you grew up in New Orleans and how that's influenced you, but you said that vampires and writing about the vampires isn't much of a challenge. So I could probably assume that vampires are probably your favorite type of horror. Am I correct?
Yeah, they probably are for horror. Most likely, yes.
What was? Do you have a favorite horror movie that is about vampires that you feel like doesn't get enough attention?
Well, I mean, I think everyone loves, well, not everyone, but Bram Stoker's Dracula, that's probably my favorite vampire movie. After that, I really loved Blade. I really loved, there's like a movie with James Wood. I don't know if many people
Vampires.
know about it. Oh, huh?
Vampires.
Right, yeah, called Vampires.
That was one of my favorite movies too. I fucking love that one.
Yeah, so I really like that movie also. Let the right one in. Really, I think
perfect. I love that one.
Movies.
Solid.
So yeah, I just really love vampire movies.
What is it about vampire movies that really attracts you to them, do you think?
I don't know. It's like, again, this started like a very young age. I mean, for Sesame Street, I really like Calvin Counts, the vampire that counts the words. I was really into like a really old book called like Binoculia. It's about vampire bunny. I was into Count Duckula, about the vampire duck. I was into Ravenloft, about Strahd. So I mean, really, it began at a very young age, and I don't know. I mean, just some people have an inclination towards certain, I guess, tropes or subjects. Then vampires was mine.
Okay,
that's awesome.
So you basically, go ahead. Sorry,
I was gonna say no. I feel you because Chucky was always my favorite character, like in all the movies, and so I always liked the killer dolls and the poltergeists. Like even when I was really little, like so I feel you there. Like I just had something just lured me to all that.
It was the want for the macabre that rests within inside of all of us, really, I'm willing to bet. So you just love vampires ever since you were a kid. It's just something that clicked with you and connected with you. And I think that's honestly kind of adorable and also awesome to hear. I don't think that we actually talk a lot of times when an actual like monster attaches to us and we just want to hear about it. I mean, there is something to say about a type of fandom that starts from a love and not from being scarred, then turning into love, like a lot of horror fans go through. So before we move back on though and come back to it, I wanted to see though if you're willing to play a horror game with us. Would you like to play one with us?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, it's perfect.
Okay, so with it being the spookiest season of the year, we are kicking off, talking about witches in horror and how they've evolved throughout horror and throughout time in horror. And so that was very repetitive. I do apologize. Coming back to it though, witches are great at summoning though. They can summon creatures. They can summon spirit animals. They can summon real animals. They kind of summon whatever they need to summon, right, to get the job done. Well, here's the thing. They need to summon you, Todd. They need to bring you to come into a book signing. But they don't know what to summon you with. So, Todd, the game is called Summoning Circle. And what you have to do is pick 5 objects that these witches would use to summon you so you could come sign your books.
All right, well, first that pops into my head is beer. I'm a big beer drinker. So
just right to it.
Same here.
Yeah, it would be beer. Let's see.
What kind of beer? Do you have a favorite?
Yeah, it's Japanese beer actually. It's called Asahi or Kirin. It's two different
Oh,
brands.
that
So,
shit's good. I love that. I
right.
used to drink it when I was in Japan.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I drink it a lot here in Taiwan too, and in Korea. And it's so cheaper here. Like in the United States, it's actually quite expensive, but here it's fairly cheap. But
Yeah.
yeah, it'd be Asahi or Korean beer. I guess my iPad, which is really important to me. Honestly, my notebook. My notebook where I write, my pencil. So let's see, that's beer, iPad, notebook, pencil, and one more. You know, it's a funny thing. Probably my contacts. I can't see without them, so I guess the last thing that they would need.
That'd be pretty awkward to be summoned and then be like, all right, where am I going? Where am I? I like that. You knew exactly what it would be needed. I usually when we do this one, I've even had to think about what would 5 items be. You're someone that really knows themselves really well. I applaud you for that.
Thanks.
So coming back to it, you're writing. I mean, you've written and you're working on some new work. What's the new writings that you're working on?
Right now, I'm writing a web series. Actually, it's a web series that takes place here in Taipei, and because it's me writing it, I'm the head writer and basically the main writer in it. It's also horror influenced, but it's kind of like a superhero type web series. But that's what I'm working on right now. That's really the main writing project that's taking up the most of my time is this web series.
Can you share any more about the web series, or is it pretty hush hush right now?
No, it's not. It's called For the Gods Open Eyes. It takes place here in Taipei. We've filmed one episode so far called The Educator. They filmed the second episode called Animal School. Because the people who I work with are basically English teachers. That's what I do here. I teach ESL here in Asia. And most people who are part of this project, I mean, they have different things they do, but their bread and butter source of income is teaching or something like that. And so a lot of the plot circles around basically people teaching in schools in these afternoon schools here called cram schools. And these people end up getting kind of these powers from different African gods, and these powers have very different effects on depending on if you're a good person or a bad person. Bad people, which is mostly what I focus upon, who are influenced by like greed, jealousy, hatred, things like this, are the people who are most prominent in this particular web series. And so it just depends on your personality, how the power actually affects you. Yeah, so that's what we're working on now. And I think today, actually, later for me, it's Sunday. Later on today, they're filming episodes 3 and 4 and a little bit of another episode. So yeah, it's extremely exciting, actually.
That's
Awesome.
insane.
Yeah,
like
cool.
Your personality dictates how your superpower works. That's pretty tight. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, I like that. Uber superhero nerds. So like we always like hearing the new take on like superheroes and stuff like that. And
You're talking to guys that have
twist.
like comic book and Star Wars tattoos on them.
Yeah.
But definitely keep up with it. Keep up with it. Like I post a lot, honestly. I do a lot of promotion. So definitely keep up as the episodes. We have season 1 already written. We're halfway through season 2. So yeah, I mean, definitely keep up with what's happening.
Oh yeah.
Where can we check it out?
It's going to be mostly on social media. So it's going to be released on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, things like that. We have a Patreon page for anyone who would like to support us. We're always looking for patrons, and that's For the Gods Open Eyes. So definitely check us out on that. There's some film distribution websites that we're looking into. So we're hoping to be a part of that also. Like it's still growing. So it's like different things we're trying to become part of.
Well, we'll make sure to have the links to the Patreon below, along with everything else. But
thank you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's really exciting, Todd. I mean, I don't know. I kind of want to get just a little bit more of an idea, just real quick, before we start wrapping up for the day too, about it. And I please let me know if like this is spoiling anything. We don't have to share any spoilers. But what would a person's power do if their personality was mostly conceited? How would that affect it, or how would that take form? Can you share that as like an example?
And they're mostly conceited. I don't know. Maybe it would be the influence that they have upon people, maybe charming them or something like that. Maybe casting glamour upon them. I don't know, but I have to kind of think about it and work out the character a bit more slowly. But I think if someone's conceived, they're thinking mostly about themselves. They think that they're kind of the center of the world. And that's what they would do. They'd be almost like a Pied Piper type character and try and almost charm or glamour people into basically following them and doing what they want them to do.
So this is what it's like hearing what the mind of an author thinks like. Like that was a really cool description. Like I'm actually do mean that as a compliment. Like whenever it comes to any type of art medium, whatever you're doing, whether you're a painter, a musician, an author, you definitely talk in the way of how your mind composes your creativity. And just hearing you come up with that on the spot, I was just I can't tell if that's actually a character that you've already made, or if that you literally just did that on the spot because we just threw that at you.
Thanks again. Thank you.
So, Cody, do you have any additional questions?
I'm good. I want to go watch the show.
There you go. The Punk Rock Horror Podcast gives its full 100% approval of the show. So as we're wrapping up today, Todd, a lot of this has kind of gone by pretty quick. I mean, you got a lot of these creative ideas. You got a lot of these creative things that you've been doing. What has this journey been like for you? I mean, you're from New Orleans, now you're in Taipei, working on this superhero web series. I mean, what has it been like for you?
It's been fun, to be honest. I mean, it's not easy. It hasn't been easy, but it has been fun. Like when I was in elementary school, I basically wanted to, live out in the world, meet different people from around the world, and create different things. And that's more or less what I'm doing now. It's not as easy as all that, but still, it has been fun and exciting, this journey that I've gone on.
What is one thing that you wish you did know when you first started out that you would want to tell someone else?
Money. I mean, this kind of lifestyle it can be very exciting, and there's a lot of adventure. You meet a wide number of people, but yeah, like trying to support yourself, that's really always a difficult thing. It's just, young people don't understand, like when you're in elementary school and high school, you don't understand the importance of like rent and food, because those things are important to you then. So that's the main thing, just finances.
So be on top of your finances, people. Especially if you want to chase your dreams, make sure you have a good security blanket financially.
Yeah.
Definitely.
What's one thing that you would tell someone not to do because you learned from it already?
Well, I don't know if I ever did this, but never procrastinate. I mean, that's my thing. Like when I was first approached about this web series, and the guy told me, Ghani, who had the idea for the concept, and he asked me, can you write this? And, I gave him one episode, and then I gave him 11 more. Because I just don't procrastinate. I just continue writing until I was done the first season, and I continue writing until I'm halfway done the second. So it's just my philosophy in general, just never procrastinate, always just keep moving forward. So that's the advice I would give.
Keep moving forward. Perfectly said. Todd, before we wrap out today, where can everyone go to support you and support everything you're doing? Obviously, we will have the Patreon links again in links below for the web series, along with everything else. But where can everyone go? Where can everyone else go to support you?
So my fantasy novella series is called The Windshine Chronicles. I have a Facebook page for that. And then my Vampire Horror Extreme Chronicles is called exactly that. I have a Facebook page for that. I'm on Twitter under Denevius, Denevius. You can probably do links for it. And then also on Instagram, I think the same name also. But if you just Google me, I've been fairly active promoting myself. So if you Google Todds Sullivan, Sullivan, you'll find quite a few things on me. So there's a lot of different places you can go to.
Okay. Awesome. So we'll make sure to have those below as well, too, for everyone to check out and come support you. Todd, it's been badass to get to know you. It's been fun talking to you. I mean, again, thank you for calling us all the way in Taipei. I know it's like early over there still. So thank you for even just putting the time aside to come on the show and hang out with us. Is there any parting words that you would like to give to the show or give to the listeners?
No, I want to definitely thank both of you guys for giving me the time to speak and being very flexible with the schedule. I'm really happy, really appreciative, and I hope everyone stays safe as we go into the winter and flu season and everything. So just stay safe out there. But anyway, thank you for having me on.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and definitely we'll have to have you come back on again in the future for sure.
Thank you so much.
All right, ghouls, gals, creeps, and music. Creeps and mutants, excuse me.
Gears of music.
This has been another Punk Rock Horror Podcast author episode. Make sure you check out Todd. Make sure you check out everything he's working on in the links below. If you're listening on YouTube, in the description below, please give them some support. Support these indie authors. They rely on amazing listeners like you. And honestly, we all know you're amazing. So please go ahead and give them that support. Again, Todd, thank you for coming on. And we will talk about books with you next time.
Bye.